You are watching some live weather coverage here on WFMY Plus. Tim Buckley with you right now. We're going to be talking about the threat of a couple storms moving in overnight tonight. So this is Tuesday night through Wednesday morning here that we're referencing, and it is something that's kind of a borderline threat for our area. Really, there's a big threat of severe weather across a big chunk of the country tonight, which I'll show you. We are on the eastern edge, and with that being said, coming in overnight tonight from 10 p.m. to about 5 a.m. A lot of times thunderstorms and severe ones can kind of lose their steam as they go through those nighttime hours, and we'll be losing the heating of the day as well. So we have those factors working in our favor, which should help to limit the severe weather risk at all. We're in a lower chance of this overall, but still, having those alerts turned on your phone and making sure it's close by while you're getting some sleep tonight, that's a good move and something that I would recommend for you. Obviously, we're going to have more coverage as we go throughout the nighttime as well, and if there were to be something to happen, you'll bet we'll have you covered there too. Now, live looking now at our Skycam network across our region: Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Burlington, and High Point. What you're looking at is a little bit different than a couple of hours ago. We've started to see some clouds kind of blowing our way, and it's getting a little bit overcast. Now, sometimes if you have cloud cover and you're on a storm threat day, that can really limit the severe weather potential. Today's chance, though, it's not really dependent on sunshine. It's already been coming in overnight tonight. So the clouds, that's not going to make all that much of a difference for overnight, in my opinion. So our threat levels across the southeast, remember how I told you this is a big system? Let's kind of look at this for a second. The severe weather risk extends from Louisiana in the south all the way to Chicago in the north to Cincinnati, all the way to the coastal areas of the Carolinas, with Nashville and Tennessee right in the middle. The different colors here, that represents the likelihood or the chance that you would get hit by a severe thunderstorm in these areas. We rank that on a level of 1 through 5, 1 being the most common and the lowest risk, 5 being the rarest and the most extreme risk. And we don't have anything like that today, but there is a level 3 all across Kentucky, Tennessee, and parts of the Deep South too. That is where the busiest weather is happening right now. Those forecasters tend to know what they're doing at the Storm Prediction Center, and they've got it on the money at this time. We're looking at Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama as being the busiest, as I said. And remember, when we show you a radar picture like this, when you're looking at the yellow boxes, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The red boxes, those are tornado warnings, okay? So as we just set that in motion, let's kind of zoom in and show you who's getting what. Now, this is all in Tennessee at the moment, but this is the same system that's headed our way overnight tonight, so it matters a little to us. Nashville itself is right in the middle of your screen. There's a tornado warning to the south. There's another one to the north. There are a couple of other severe thunderstorms kind of surrounding the city. So if you've been in Nashville ever before, you know it's kind of a bustling metro area right now. They have a big beltway that runs around it. Those storms are on either side of the beltway. Right now, we are looking at a live tornado warning. This is for, it looks like Bedford, Marshall, and Rutherford counties here. So the small town of Chapel Hill, oddly enough, Tennessee. There's a Chapel Hill, Tennessee there. Christiana as well. Not too far from Murfreesboro. That's a pretty big town. This is that possible tornado that's moving from west to east. It's really moving a little north of east right now, but that's the storm. And this kind of shows the potential in the atmosphere today. To get a tornado to form, one of the biggest questions I often get about weather is, how do tornadoes form in the first place? To do that, you need to have a severe thunderstorm in place, and you have to get it to start twisting or spinning. The way the atmosphere is stacked out today, there are winds going in different directions at different layers, and that can allow for some twisting to happen with some of those storms, and that's how you can start to create a bit of a tornado. So that's what's been going on in Tennessee. Now, I will say this signature on that storm right now is not all that impressive. At the moment, it might be weak, and I haven't been tracking it because it's not our local area all that closely. But this is just a mesh. You can see Nashville, again, right about here. They have severe storms all around them, to the north, to the west, to the south, to the east. They will get this as well at some point, but it's busy for sure in the Music City at this time. Live look, one of our nationwide weather cameras we can show you. We call it 2 View. We're viewing that right now, and they're not playing ball in Nashville. I'm not sure the name of the team there, but they're not going to be playing tonight. The tarp's on the field. The sign over there has said postponed a couple of times. That should be getting busier in about an hour's time, maybe a little less than that when those storms start to roll in on the city. A little bit of a different view. A lot of times we'll show you this camera looking at Broadway, all the busy bars and honky-tonks right there in the middle of the city. Now it's been turned around, so we're actually looking at Nissan Stadium. You might be familiar with this. It's where the Titans play. Looking at the darker clouds, you can see those storms really kind of getting ready to go and getting ready to move in right there into Nashville. So that's what's going on in Tennessee. That's the system that's headed our way. Here at home, I don't have anything to show you yet, but we can talk about the forecast going in through tonight. Levels, storm risk levels. The green is that level 1 risk. Remember, that's the most common. That's the least severe. That's what we're in here in the Triad. Western North Carolina, though, they have a little bit better risk, a little bit better chance of seeing a severe storm. So they've been in the level 2 risk. Now, with a severe risk, we can break it down in different ways. How likely are tornadoes? How likely are high winds? How likely are hailstones? So we're going to go one by one here right now. The first of those is always the one that gets the most attention. What's the risk tonight of a tornado in North Carolina? It's low, but it's not zero. If it were zero, we would not have any color at all. But the green color represents a low chance of a tornado, really in most of the Triad area, all the way through the mountains down through Charlotte. Now, that's a low risk. There might be 1 or 2 tornado warnings across the whole state overnight tonight, but that's still something we want to be watching for. It's a low risk that it would hit you, but even so, we're going to be here watching all the same. Hailstones. Unlike the last couple of storm systems that had unusually high chances for hail, and we've seen a lot of that recently, I don't think that tonight's the night for that. We do have a low risk of some hail in some of these storms, but it does not seem to me to be one of those that's going to be a big hail event. The freezing levels in the storm, not all that low, close to the ground, so it really should just be a normal hail risk. Now, damaging wind gust potential, that's there for tonight. A little bit higher out to the west, low enough here in the Triad area as well, but something that we'll be watching. So the biggest concern would be for damaging winds, followed by hail, followed lastly by tornadoes. Live radar now, we're starting to see a little action along the North Carolina border. To get your bearings here, that's Watauga County and Boone. That's Ashe County, West Jefferson included in that. Now on the other side here, that's Johnson City, Tennessee, and there are some of those thunderstorms. Now this is the first little line way ahead of anything. Notice how they're weakening a little bit as they're getting close to the mountains. What they have to do, there's nothing magic about mountains, but what storms have to do is it's going to force those storms to rise up on one side of the storm and then fall down the other side. So truly a mountain is a physical barrier. It forces air to rise up, and then it forces air to go down. When air goes down, it tends to dry out and evaporate a little bit. So we should get a weakening trend with those, but if you're watching us from the foothills or up near the Boone area, those are headed your way, or at least trying to. They're non-severe, but some lightning and rain is possible really over the next hour's time. This is just another way to visualize those storm threats that I was just telling you about. Wind, hail, tornado, and flood possibilities overnight tonight. They're ranked in order, coincidentally enough, right now. Wind being the most likely, flood being the least likely, hail and tornado in the middle. But again, I don't think this is all that severe of a threat for us, and it's pretty isolated. So when we use the words isolated, that means few and far between, scattered, a little bit more numerous, widespread, most people seeing them. This is kind of an isolated scenario as we go through this late evening and toward midnight. Notice there, it ran through a little bit quickly, but there weren't storms covering the whole map. They're just a couple peppered throughout the area from the late evening into early tomorrow morning. So that was the threat. Throughout the day tomorrow, will we have another storm? Not too likely. There's a small chance tomorrow afternoon. I think it'll just be a sunny day and a really nice one too. Still warm for Wednesday before cooler weather arrives. Let's take a closer view with more pause points. This will be right about now. The model's doing okay, but if it were perfect, it would have those storms up by Boone. It doesn't have that. So remember, computers are not perfect here. They are estimations. It's all a simulation. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Let's see what it has to say. This is around 11 o'clock tonight. Notice it does not have very many showers or storms forming. What it does have, though, we're still in the 70s. We're still pretty warm going into that late evening, so there's storm fuel. That lays the potential and kind of keeps us in the game, as it were. Later on in the evening, 1, 2, 3 a.m. Notice there, again, not too many storms on the board, but at that point in time, they look a little bit beefier, don't they? Mount Airy up there. You have another one down by Charlotte, another one over by Raleigh. That's kind of the game we're playing once we get after midnight. And then farther along by 5, 6, and 7 a.m., we're basically done. So that's why we're kind of only having our alert go from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. tomorrow. And then after that, you're off to go with a sunny day of weather and a really warm day of weather tomorrow. We could rise all the way up into the mid 80s. A little bit of humidity is still there, but the driving force behind this weather system in the first place, we have a warm front rising over us tonight. So it's going to get humid over the next couple of hours. It's not there yet, but it will be later. That's the storm fuel. And then that cold front kind of moves over us slowly throughout the day tomorrow. That'll be the leading edge to drier air in the Midwest. That'll glide in here and really get us cooler and more crisp toward the end of the weekend into the weekend. To show you that in another way, just take a look at this humidity trend. Remember, we're approaching Memorial Day here. This is very unusual, but our humidity from tomorrow will drop like a rock through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there will be a cool and crisp feel to the air by that weekend time frame. And honestly, you really might want to have a sweatshirt every now and again for your holiday weekend plans. Not seeing a very good chance of rain through the rest of the week, maybe a brief shower Thursday night. Otherwise, we'll probably wait until Memorial Day Monday before rain returns to the area. That's trending pretty wet at this time, as is Tuesday, but that's a little ways away. Sum up the forecast for you just like this. Overnight tonight, again, a scattered shower or thunderstorm is possible, and that's why we have the alert for you. Temperatures into the 60s. As far as tomorrow, still warm out there. We'll be in the mid 80s for high temperatures. And again, any chance of rain for your Wednesday, it's in those morning hours. So once we get past about 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., we should be in pretty good shape to stay dry for the rest of the day. And just to recap your alert for you here, we're looking at overnight tonight, a couple of thunderstorms between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Can you go to bed? I would say, yeah, you can, but make sure you have those alerts turned on and ready to go, and don't have the phone in the other room. I know that's recommended sometimes for good sleeping, but if we were to have a bad storm, you want to be woken up by that. And I'm joined now by Chad Silver to see what we have going on. But we're kind of watching this threat as a lower end threat, but still something that's worth watching for tonight.
I want to go back to what you were just saying about making sure that your phone is on and able to receive alerts. See, for me, when I go to sleep, I put my phone in do not disturb mode. So you're suggesting against doing that tonight.
And there are a couple of different levels of alerts that you can enable, right? Like I would recommend for tonight, if let's say you have the News 2 weather app, right? We have alerts on there that'll buzz for you. Even higher than that, let's say there were to be a tornado warning, there's those Federal Emergency Alert System alerts, the EAS alerts or the wireless emergency alerts. If those are turned on your phone, and most of you have this at home, you can disable it. I discourage you from doing that. That's when you're in a public place, everybody's phone buzzes at the same time. And it's not a wimpy little alert. It doesn't matter if you're in do not disturb mode or not. It goes, it overrides that. So that's what happens with an amber alert, a flash flood warning, or a tornado warning. If that were to happen for your area tonight, you're going to wake up. You just want to make sure, check in your settings. You usually go to general, then settings, then wireless emergency alerts. Make sure they're turned on, and you can, I'd say have them all on. You can pick and choose between weather, amber, those type of things.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or does it seem like we've had more severe weather this spring, or is it just because we're in it right now?
A lot of times they go in clusters, so it's pretty common for severe weather season to kind of, have ebbs and flows, right? So you can have a little blitz of 5-6 days in a row where there's just severe weather happening in the same part of the country day after day after day. And then you could go a week or two without much of that. We've had some of those drier spells or quieter spells, especially in April, which wasn't super active. For us here in the Carolinas, our busiest month tends to be April. It really wasn't that busy. So we had that lucky spell. This time of year, once you get into May, it's usually the plains, the tornado alley part of the country that we know about. That's usually their big time of year. From Texas to Kansas, that's usually when they're going. And they're going right now, and they have been for several days. But it's going to start to go into a bit of a lull once we get past these next 2 days. Why
is it that the midsection of the country tends to deal with all sorts of severe weather this time of year? I mean, Tornado Alley. I mean, how do you get that name?
Yeah, believe it or not, that's not just the busiest part of the country for tornadoes, it's the busiest part of the world.
Oh, wow.
So really, the United States is the tornado capital of the world. We have very unique geography. We have, of course, you have the Gulf, which has all that warm tropical water and that warm air access for you. But you also have the Rocky Mountains not too far away. You have Canada not too far away. So you can get those contrasting winds that kind of collide. And big time weather, severe weather, it's all about contrast and collision. And when you have access to cold polar air from the north and warm tropical air from the south, that can just lead to those breeding grounds for bad stuff to happen, especially in the plains. We can't really get those collisions quite as bad around here. We can get the tropical air a bit more easily, but we can't get that Canadian air at the same time usually. They can do it really well in the middle of the country, and the results can be pretty bad. There have been horrible tornadoes in the middle of the country the last couple of days. A lot of them have gone through fields. But a couple of them have gone through towns. Probably the biggest example of that would be the St. Louis tornado. If you've seen anything like that, it's just horrible.
I think people might be wondering, it seems like we've had a lot of hail threats this spring.
Yeah.
Is that something that we deal with every year and it's just heightened sense right now because we are in it?
It's always a possibility. It's something that can happen, but I've worked here close to 12 years now. I've never seen this much hail in North Carolina. You probably maybe just noticed that yourself. We've been here about the same amount of time. It's not normal for North Carolina to have as much hail as we have. We've had a couple of storm systems that the way the setup is, you think about weather like a layer cake almost, or maybe like a 7-layer dip or something. You can always stack it out a little bit differently. And the way the storms have been stacked out that have hit North Carolina over the last couple of months, the colder levels of the atmosphere have been a lot closer to the ground than usual. So we talk about a freezing level. How high do you have to go to hit 32 degrees? That level has been closer to the surface than usual. Sometimes it might take you 5,000 or so feet, maybe 10,000 feet. In these situations where we've had the big hail, it's been a lot closer than that. So the lower the freezing level is, you don't have to grow the storms quite as tall to make those ice balls. And the longer you can grow them, the bigger and bigger they can get before gravity wins and they fall to the ground. So not expecting much of that tonight. It's not stacked out that way this evening. But we've had a lot of hail, and hopefully we can avoid that at least for tonight.
You were talking earlier about how there's a small chance for tornadoes. How is it that the Storm Prediction Center is able to predict weather that's favorable for tornadoes?
That's different than hail, or when it comes to tornadoes, you're assessing a couple of different things. Number one, you have to have thunderstorms. So this is all like icing on the cake. First of all, you're going to forecast, are there going to be thunderstorms? And then once you say yes, there probably will be, then you go into, okay, well, are there winds favorable for tornadoes? So you got to have those conditions first. But if you're going to have thunderstorms, you want to look and see how the atmosphere is stacked out with the winds. If they're all blowing in the same direction, and what I mean by that is from the ground to a little above the ground to a little above the ground to all the way up to where airplanes fly. If the winds are all blowing in the same direction at the same speed, not going to have any tornadoes. What you want to see if you were going to make a tornado is you want that wind to start to twist a little bit with height as you go up. So if you're twisting the wind, if let's say the wind's blowing this way at the ground and then this way above, there's going to be a twisting motion kind of applied to a thunderstorm, because the thunderstorm's like 30,000 feet tall. So if you're moving it one way up here and one way down there, it's like you're spinning a top, right? That little kid's toy you play with. If your one finger's going one way, the other's going the other way. You can do that to a thunderstorm. So that's applying what we call wind shear to a storm, which is really favorable for creating tornadoes. Sometimes when the wind shear is really high and you have the thunderstorms, you get a tornado. Sometimes you don't. We're still kind of in that learning phase when it comes to weather. Science is always evolving. Those are the conditions we know need to be there for tornadoes. There are a couple of others that we're still learning more about, or hope to learn more about. That's why you see those storm chasers out there, the good ones, the science-y ones out there, trying to learn more, because of all the weather types, we still have the most to learn with tornadoes.
Maybe you saw over the past few days some of the tornado video from the central part of the country.
Yeah.
And one thing that I constantly notice when I see these videos are clouds that move so much faster than they typically do in that environment. Why is it that they tend to be moving faster?
So when we talk about maybe there's a risk of 60-mile-per-hour winds in a severe thunderstorm or higher, where's that wind coming from? The thunderstorms themselves aren't making those high winds. Those high winds have to be there first. So what a thunderstorm is able to do is let's say it's pretty calm here at the ground, maybe a 10-mile-per-hour wind or something, but there's the jet stream that day is just roaring really fast. Maybe the winds above our heads are going 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. That happens a lot. And on those days, that's when you're worried about severe thunderstorms. If the jet stream's not all that excited and it's not moving all that fast, yeah, you could get a thunderstorm, but you're probably not going to get a big wind gust out of it. So on a day like today, we do have those higher winds up above our heads. So in Tennessee right now, if you were to look, the clouds are probably moving really fast. Now, it doesn't matter if the clouds are moving fast as long as you keep the storms away. But a thunderstorm can take those high winds above our heads and it can shove them right down toward the ground. So that's kind of way a thunderstorm can make a damaging wind gust, is it can use the wind that's already in the atmosphere and then bring it down to you. So does that make sense a little bit? That's kind of one of those preconditions that we look at forecasting severe weather. It's like, okay, are the high winds going to be present in the atmosphere, and do we think there'll be thunderstorms? And then we'd be concerned. So today, we have some of those high winds. We don't have too many signals that show too many thunderstorms, so we're in kind of a low, cautious mode right now. It's just not a slam dunk for us.
And that's where we want to be.
Yes, not in Tennessee.
Who needs Bill Nye when we got Tim Buckley here, right? Well, thank you, Tim. Appreciate you. You're going to be back on at, 8:30 for another update?
I believe that's right, yeah. And of course, we'll have our newscast coming up at 11 as well. And at that point, we probably start to have some action to track on radar for you. And we'll do a little post-game after the newscast there, too, to get a little bonus coverage here on Plus.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you later in the evening.